Peter Howell School, Tucson, Arizona. Boy, I really am nervous starting in a new school. Wonder what the kids are like. Wonder if the teachers are nice. Hope the work's not too hard. I wonder what's for lunch. Uh-oh. There's a girl looking at me. Oh no, she's walking towards me.
Hi, are you a new student?
Yes.
What's your name?
Dylan.
Nice to meet you. I'm Kayleen.
Hello.
Yeah, you like the school. The kids are pretty friendly. The teachers are nice, and we do pretty interesting work.
That's good to hear. I was feeling a little bit anxious. You know, I've gone to several schools, and each time I've worried that the school would be so different, you know? But I guess most schools are pretty much the same. I bet schools have probably always been the same.
I've been studying about schools here in Tucson. Schools were very different. Tucson was a very different place, too.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
More than 100 years ago, Tucson was a small desert town with narrow dirt roads. Soldiers from Camp Lowell protected Tucsonans from Apache raids. Children then did not think much about school. They thought about fishing in Silver Lake.
Last time I got the biggest. Well, I got the longest. I got the fattest. Well, I got the most.
They earned extra money by polishing spittoons or washing buggies. There were no public schools until a group of men made possible the formation of Tucson School District 1. Pye Allen, a merchant and post trader, had gotten his start in Tucson by selling pies to soldiers for $1 each. Philip Drachman, who was a Polish immigrant, had established a general merchandise store at Congress in Maine. Leopoldo Carrillo later opened an ice cream saloon and an amusement park called Carrillo Gardens. These men, along with several others, petitioned the Pima County Board of Supervisors on November 4, 1867. They requested that a public school be established. Tucson's first schoolmaster was Augustus Brichta. He taught 55 Mexican boys in a small room with benches and dirt floors. School opened January 1868. Brichta wrote,
"The school ran for 6 months and closed for want of funds."
There was no school held for the next 4 years. On March 4, 1872, an adobe building at Mary McCormick was rented for $16 a month. In that building, Tucson's second public school opened. John A. Spring was the teacher. There was only one blackboard, but there were plenty of splintery wooden benches for the students to sit on. Mr. Spring was given many flogging sticks by parents, so he can punish his students. Can you imagine 138 barefoot boys in one classroom?
6 times 2 equals 12. 6 times 3 6 is 18. 6 times 4.
In 1875, the Arizona Citizen began reporting about Tucson's first public school building, called Congress Street School.
Not a cent of public money has been expended in the erection of this building, and we owe it all to the ladies of Tucson for most of this money, which has been paid out so far.
The school had 3 rooms, one for girls, one for primary boys, and one for boys who were completing advanced lessons. Spanish was taught in the primary room. The principal was Professor W.B. Horton. The boys' teacher, Ignacio Bonias, worked for $15 a month. The Congress Street School, located at Congress and 6th, was out of town. Many students on rainy days arrived at school splashed and covered with mud from the long walk on the wet and slippery roads. If you had attended school there in the 1870s, you might have studied from books like these. By 1890, Tucson School District 1 had 3 schools, the Congress Street School, Main Street School, and the Plaza, or Safford School. There are about 365 students in these 3 schools. The boys and girls had separate playgrounds, and they entered the school through different doors. They didn't use paper for their lessons. They wrote on slates that they used on their laps or desks. But a lot of boys and girls that could go to school were not going. Then the 20th Territorial Legislature of 1899 passed a compulsory school attendance law. This law said that all boys and girls between the ages of 8 and 14 had to go to school. In 1901, the 3 school board members of Tucson District 1 decided to build 3 new schools and named them after themselves. Davis School, named after William C. Davis, was built at St. Mary's Road in Granada. Drachman School, named after Samuel H. Drachman, was constructed at Convent and 18th Street. Holiday School was built at 1st Avenue and 7th Street, the present site of Tucson High School. Holiday School originally had 4 rooms. In 1908, 4 more rooms were added. Holiday School was named for Lon Holiday. Lon Holiday was born in Tennessee in 1854. He came to Tucson because he was an engineer on the Southern Pacific Railroad. Holiday School was demolished in 1923 to make way for the new Tucson High School.
Gee, Kayleen, schools really were different a long time ago. The kids went barefoot to school. The boys wore knickers. Classes were really large. And at first, girls didn't go to public school. Now I'm curious about this school. Peter Howell. What was this school like when it first opened? I don't know, but Christopher does. Psst, psst. Christopher, what was Howell School like when it first opened?
Peter Howell School, in the central part of Tucson, is located just a few blocks from the busy intersection of Broadway and Alvernon. Alvernon was named after a local realtor, Al Vernon. The school is in a neighborhood once known as Poets Corner, because of all the names of the streets in the neighborhood. Peter Howell School opened in March of 1950. At first it was called Longfellow School after Longfellow Avenue that borders the school on the west side. On September 20th, 1950, the school was renamed and dedicated as the Peter E. Howell School in honor of Peter E. Howell, school board member for 14 years and pioneer Tucsonan. Mr. Howell was born in Ontario, Canada in 1874. He attended a business college in Ionia, Michigan, and later worked as a barber in Alpena, Michigan, before coming to Tucson in 1900. Mr. Howell established the Modern Barber Shop, which became a local landmark and gathering place for Tucsonans. He served as Pima County Recorder under the territorial government and was the first county recorder after Arizona became a state in 1912. In 1915, he took over the management of the Drachman laundry business and later became a partner with Oliver Drachman in the business. Mr. Howell was very active in civic organizations. He was a member of the Elks Lodge, a 33rd degree Mason, director of the Chamber of Commerce, and president of the Community Chest. He was active also with the Red Cross, Boy Scouts, Salvation Army, and the Big Brothers program. Peter Howell died January 17th, 1952. Mr. Claremont Loper, who was one of the first PTA presidents of Howell School, shares some of his recollections of those early days with Mary Marks, a 6th grade student.
Concerned about the same thing the parents are today, the safety of the children, getting them to the school, the best possible education. I don't think that's changed very much. The opportunities have changed. They're greater today.
The PTA planned to plant ground cover to protect the west slope of the school. On the day of the planting, a young boy brought a small ash tree to be planted. The planting plan showed no tree, so on the spur of the moment it was decided to plant it by one of the west entrances. Although the ground cover didn't work out, the unplanned tree survived and is a beautiful full-grown ash tree today. Mr. Leslie McQuarrie, who came to Tucson from Missouri, was the principal of Howell School for 25 years. 6th grader Faith Boyer asked Mr. McQuarrie about his experiences and the school.
My first job in Tucson in District 1 was a classroom teacher at Sam Hughes School. I remained there 1 year and then was made principal of the new Lon Holiday School at 33rd and Fremont. After spending 3 years at Lon Holiday, I became principal of Peter Howell School.
When you came to Peter Howell, what was it like?
Faith, I thought it was the most beautiful school I'd ever seen. The landscaping had not been done because at that particular time the district did not provide a lot of money for landscaping. The street, Holmes, and Irving had not been paved, but soon afterward they were. It was a large school. We only had 22 classrooms, but we were on complete double session. And
How many students were in classes in those days?
Faith, the classes were much larger in those days. There was no set policy as far as class size was concerned, and due to all those crowded conditions, we actually got classes up as high as 38, 39, sometimes 40. Wasn't the best situation in the world, but it was the best we could do at that particular time.
Was there a dress code?
Yes, Faith. In all the schools in the Tucson area, there was a very strict dress code, not only for students, but for teachers and principals. All of the girls wore dresses. All the boys wore jeans. No cutoffs were allowed. Shirt tails were always tucked in. Even boys had to have their hair cut properly. No long hair at that time.
Could you tell us about some former students of Peter Howell?
Well, that would take about 6 months to tell about all the great kids that came out of Peter Howell School. Most boys and a lot of girls are particularly interested in athletes that came from Peter Howell. I think you have previously interviewed one of the great athletes, Ron Hassey, who is the #1 catcher for the Cleveland Indians. He went all through Peter Howell School and is a fine young man. Paul Moscow, who pitched for the Cincinnati Reds several years and then the Chicago Cubs, is a Peter Howell boy. Chuck Hitchcock, who went down to Mexico City to the Olympics and won 3 gold medals in swimming, is a former Peter Howell student. And all 3 of those boys, incidentally, were on the school patrol under Mr. McEwen. And they're all 3 fine fellows. Now that pretty well takes care of the outstanding athletes, but I would suggest to you, Faith, that we have many former students that are today teachers, lawyers, doctors, engineers. Just name an outstanding profession, and you'll find a former Peter Howell student in there.
Cleveland Indians catcher Ron Hassey grew up in Tucson. He was an elementary student at Howell School.
Did you like Howell?
Yes, I did. It was a very small school, and it was a school that you got a lot of one-on-one help, and it helped me a lot.
Did you get your first athletic start here?
Well, I think I was introduced with sports, probably in the program that they had after school. You know, it was a team sport, and we'd had basketball, baseball, and football.
Do you have a message for future athletes?
Well, I think the biggest thing for future athletes is to get your education. I learned that going to college for 4 years helped me get to the major leagues, mostly because it's a way of handling things. And I would, if I had to do it all over again, I'd go to college again too.
Dr. Robert Morrow was superintendent of Tucson School District 1 for 27 years. He was active in many community activities, receiving numerous honors, outstanding community service, and citations by Time magazine and other national publications for leading in desegregation efforts in Tucson schools.
Our school's named after Peter Howell. What do you remember about him?
He was one of the best friends I ever had, and I think he was one of the best friends that many people in Tucson had. Everybody loved him, thought he was great. If it was anything to do with children, particularly people in general, but children in particular, he was out there working for them. Used to have Rotary Club and the Masonic Lodge and the Elks Club. One organization and another would have special events for children. He would always be the one that sold the most newspapers or collected the most money. because he really was interested in boys and girls and what they were doing, trying to help them in every way he could.
What was the school district like in 1950 when Howell School opened?
This had been growing very rapidly for a short period of time. Immediately after World War II, there was population boom and lots of immigration there. People came from all over the United States, moving into Tucson. Some of them were sailors, some of them were people from Davis-Monthan, coming back here to live because they'd been here during the war. But the school district was still quite small. But from 1948, 1950 on, we built 75 schools, I think, altogether in a period of 27 years. So we really were growing very fast. We had 10,000 pupils when I became superintendent in 1941. We had 54,000 in 1968 when I retired. So there are lots of changes. There's no tile in any of the bathrooms, no tile in any of the corridors, no grass on any of the playground, no lights in any of the classrooms, no air conditioning, and all those things. I mean, those are just a few of the many things, plus, of course, changes in curriculum and special programs, all that sort of thing.
That's some of the history about Howell in our school district, Dylan.
That was very interesting.
Have you had a chance to get acquainted with the way things are at Howell nowadays?
No, not everything.
Amanda can show you around and tell you about what our school is like now.
Hi, Dylan.
Hi, Amanda.
Are you ready for a tour of the school?
Sure. Where do we begin?
Let's begin with our principal, Mr. McEwen. Mr. McEwen has been a principal here for several years, but he was also a teacher here for 11 years at one time.
Peter Howell School is a kindergarten through 6th grade school with a population of approximately 380 students. In 1978, Howell School became involved in TUSD's desegregation effort. Howell acquired an extended community. Actually, it's 34th Street, Martin Avenue, Park Avenue, and I-10. Before this time, our boundaries had been Speedway, Swan, Broadway, and Palo Verde. The role of the school principal has been slowly but definitely changing in recent years. Our role is defined more as that of an instructional leader as opposed to a school manager. Time must still be spent with our parents, and personal contact with students is still a must. However, we are much more involved with instruction and curriculum than ever before. I really enjoy working at Howell School. The parents, teachers, staff, and students make an excellent environment for learning.
There are a lot of people that help us at our school. We have a community representative, our secretary, a nurse, and a health aide. We have a day custodian and a night custodian. Early schools did not have all these helpers and services. Children today study many of the same subjects they did long ago, but the way they learn, the materials, and the extent of the subjects are all different. Today, reading is taught in small groups to ensure that each student is receiving the instruction needed. In writing, students practice penmanship and learn how to express ideas in written language. Listening is an important skill to practice. Speaking skills are practiced so that students can learn to organize their thoughts, express ideas and feelings, and to share knowledge and experiences.
The dairy group, and it's made of milk. And
Today, many materials are used to help children learn math. They learn to add, subtract, multiply, and divide whole numbers and fractions. Students get actively involved when they learn to measure and graph. In geometry, children study such things as shapes, lines, and angles. Science helps children understand the natural and physical world. Students study matter, energy, environment, living things, earth, and space. Through social studies, students learn about themselves and others in the present, past, and future. It helps them become responsible as individuals, members of a group, and members of a society. Most students look forward to the time in the day when they have physical education. PE gives them opportunities to develop an appreciation of healthy living and physical fitness by participating in physical activities that can be used throughout a lifetime. Team activities incorporate team spirit, good sportsmanship, and cooperation. They also give kids a chance to encourage each other. Some school activities link skills from several subject areas. A reader's theater selection combines reading and music in a dramatic presentation.
Hello to you, we came this way to have some fun and hear you play.
In art, students develop abilities to understand, plan, and produce work. They have opportunities to express their own ideas in creative ways. Sometimes art is combined with other subjects, which helps students learn and understand. The art of other cultures and times is also learned. Some students take instrumental music lessons. They may choose to learn a band instrument or an orchestra instrument. In the classrooms, children participate in listening, singing, playing, and moving activities to help them understand, appreciate, and create music.
One took a shower and the other took a bath. Magdalena, who beside her was a diner. Hogan was her name. A 10-ton truck hit Magdalena. The poor truck driver had to buy a new machine. Magdalena, who beside her was a diner. Hogan was her name.
Centralized school libraries are a recent addition to elementary schools. Our library really supports the teaching program and student learning in every subject. Kids learn a love for reading and an appreciation for books. The librarian works closely with teachers, gathering unit materials to maximize learning. Our library is a place to learn and a place to enjoy.
Follow me.
Children who have particular learning needs can receive help. Students with learning disabilities receive instruction in small groups. The speech teacher helps students.
Hamburger. Very good.
The school counselor helps students feel better about themselves. The bilingual teacher helps students whose primary language is one other than English.
Why are they different?
Children who require emotional support do activities that help them fulfill their needs. The social worker may play a game with them.
Tell it like it is. Was there some paper that you turned in, or?
They write about their feelings and thoughts in a daily journal. They sing songs together. Long ago, specialized help was not available for students with particular needs. John Spring was given flogging sticks to discipline his students in 1872. At Peter Howell School, we have a discipline policy called assertive discipline. Our philosophy is, teachers have the right to teach, students have the right to learn. The staff at Howell believes that all children should be given the opportunity to acquire self-discipline, self-respect, independence, and pride in their accomplishments. Positive reinforcement of appropriate behavior is the key to dealing with discipline at Howell. Since the days when the ladies of Tucson raised money to help build the old Congress Street School, parents have been involved in the schools. The PTA supports the school by sponsoring many programs and events. Some of the activities promote school spirit. Others promote a feeling of community, like the spaghetti dinner and the dessert social, which includes a door prize of a parent-made quilt, an achievement fair, and a talent show. The PTA also puts together a school newsletter containing children's work and school news. Parents volunteer in the classrooms too, to enrich their children's school experience. These and other activities require a broad base of parent volunteers. Proceeds from fundraisers benefit the school. Countless instructional aids have been purchased for use in all aspects of the school's program. Parents are a very important part of the school.
Since 1867, when Tucson School District 1 was first established, the district has grown. Until today, it serves the greater part of metropolitan Tucson. There are 55 students in attendance when the first public school opened in 1868. School attendance fluctuated in those early days. In 1881, there was a drop in enrollment because parents withdrew their children due to the new practice of placing both boys and girls in the same classroom. 1890 saw another drop in enrollment when the new University of Arizona offered high school classes. In 1899, the compulsory school attendance law was enacted. A school canvass revealed that 471 eligible students were not attending school. Each decade in the 20th century brought growth for Tucson District 1, until 1973, when the district reached its peak in student enrollment. Enrollment has been dropping since the baby boom children have been educated. In 1983, 53,230 students were enrolled in TUSD, with close to 98% of the eligible students accounted for in attendance. In 1893, the first high school graduating class was composed of 5 girls. In 1983, 3,736 graduated. Over 70% of the eligible students attended school beyond compulsory requirements. 1,834, or 49% of the 1983 graduates, enrolled in a college or university.
I'm glad I'm going to this school. I made some new friends. I got all my work done. Wonder what's for lunch tomorrow.